What would it look like if God spoke to you today? What would he say? What would be your reply or your reaction? Today's December 1st, and maybe as a countdown to Christmas, or just kind of this anticipation. I don't know if you've ever counted down the days till a big day, or waited by the phone for a call, but I kind of want to build this anticipation that God is, we're going to meet God in a special way. And I believe you'll meet him through the story of Jesus, through the scriptures that, the eyewitnesses. And so I just want to look at a few verses from the book of Luke and invite you to look for yourself at the book of Luke. It was written to help kind of explain the story of Jesus so people could know with real confidence what to believe, or if they wanted to believe in Jesus. So take a look at Luke chapter 1, just 5, 6, and 7. I kind of printed them big. And really, I'm not going to teach these verses. I just want to invite you to read the Bible for yourself. So what does it say at the beginning? It says, in the days of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah of the division of Abijah. So we kind of get a main character. And when you're first reading the Bible, you've got all these weird to pronounce names. It's important to kind of figure out, like, what is going on? Like, what is it actually saying? And I like to use these little questions, like, who are the main characters, and what are they doing, and where is this, and when is this? And this gives us a few clues about this, right? In the days of Herod. So that gives us kind of the when, and in the days of Herod, king of Judea. That's a little bit like saying, back when Obama was president, right? That lets you know, oh, this is a few years ago, but not 50 years ago. You understand? So this gives us some kind of idea. Now, maybe you know when Herod was king of Judea. Maybe you don't. I don't know. You can find out. That's not, research. Okay? In those days, there was a priest named Zechariah. And Zechariah is one of our main characters you'll see in these first few verses. So you got a priest. Now, I think it's interesting to consider, like, when you hear the word priest, do you know what a priest is? Like, feels like there might be a few different versions of being a priest. So what kind of priest is Zechariah? He was of the division of Abijah. So this is the kind of priest he is. I think you can safely say ancient Jewish priest, right? He's not just any old priest. He's not like, pull a random priest out of a hat type of deal. He's an ancient Jewish priest. And you could find out, like, what do the ancient Jewish priests do? Is there some information in the Bible about that? Is there some, Okay. So we know when it was. It was in the days of Herod, king of Judea. It was like 2,000 years ago. There was a priest named Zechariah of the division of Abijah, and he had a wife from the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. So we have another main character. We have Zechariah, and we have Elizabeth. And we know a little bit about her family line of the daughters of Aaron. Okay. Who's Aaron? This is not so much like one of the main characters. I think this is kind of giving you an idea of her family history. It's kind of like we might put down on our forms. You might check a box that says Caucasian or African American, or you might even get more specific if you're in Roxborough. There's some families that have been here for a long time, like the Claytons or something like that. And my last name is Liggett. The Liggets haven't been in Roxborough for very long, right? So she has kind of this family history. It's like, oh, they're from over near Hurdle Mills or whatever. Okay, so you learn a little bit about Zechariah and Elizabeth, and they were both righteous before God. So this is a description of their kind of their reputation and their lifestyle. And you can kind of get an idea, what does righteous mean? It's probably worth kind of thinking about that. Does the Bible have something to say about what it means to be righteous? Is this just like, from the 80s, like somebody that is on a skateboard is like righteous? Or does it have a deeper meaning? Okay. They were both righteous before God, walking blamelessly in all the commandments and statutes of the Lord. So I think it almost defines itself, right? Like, what does it mean to not be able to blame somebody? They are blameless. That means that what they do isn't wrong. What they do doesn't even look wrong. You can't even blame them for things because they have lived rightly. Maybe that's a good modern way to look at it. Just think about these words. What's it saying, right? Okay, so it gives a setup, right? Here's their family history, Elizabeth and Zechariah. This is kind of their reputation, their activity, right? They're people that are both righteous before God, right? So they're not even posers. It's not like they're pretending to be good, but it's before God, okay? And then verse 7, but they had no child, because Elizabeth was barren and both were advanced in years. So you get this contrast. So this looks like a hashtag sign, but this is like railroad tracks. Is like you're going this way and then you turn this way. It's a contrast. But they had no child. So, in ancient cultures, your retirement plan was children, right? When you got old, who took care of you? Your kids and grandkids. And so in a way, this is saying they were great people, but they didn't get the blessing that ancient people depended on to survive in their old age, which is children who would take care of them. And also just, to pass on the family line, to bring joy to their, like in the Bible, children are always listed as a blessing from God. They're obviously there are some terrible, terrible children in the Bible and in real life. But and sometimes children can be hard work and annoying, but they are a blessing. They're never considered like, oh, that was a dysfunctional curse from God. Nope. Okay. But they had no child because Elizabeth was barren. Do you know what the word barren means? And both were advanced in years. Do you know what it means to be advanced in years? Right? So I would just say, read it over, see if you can get your bearing. What does it say? What does some of this stuff mean, right? And so I've kind of unpacked a little bit of this, right? When it says, but they had no child, what it means is the blessing that you would think would come from living a righteous life, they hadn't gotten. And you and I both know this is true. You sometimes do your very best to live right, to say the right thing, to do the right thing, and still the situation doesn't work out in your favor. And you think, forget about it. Why am I even trying? And so we know that this happens. This kind of rings true, that this kind of thing happens. What should I do? What should I do? So we have a few options. We could give up on living righteously. We could throw the whole story out and say, this is garbage. I don't want to be feeding my mind this. I don't want to read about an old woman and an old man. I think you could draw a few conclusions, but probably the most important conclusion to draw right off the bat is keep reading because you barely know what's happening, right? What should you do? Find out what is happening next. Why has this story about these old people, why has it been passed down from generation to generation? Why has it been preserved for thousands of years as part of the story of Jesus? Like, I don't remember Zechariah or Elizabeth being like disciples of Jesus. I don't remember them in the story, right? So, what should you do? Probably should keep reading and see what God has to say.